The moment someone disrespects you, you have two choices: react emotionally or respond powerfully. Most people freeze or fumble. But what if you had just three simple phrases that instantly shift the power back to you? In the next few minutes, I'll give you the exact words that stop disrespect cold. No shouting, no drama, just pure authority. You ever notice how disrespect often catches you off guard? 1 minute, the conversation feels normal, maybe even friendly, and then boom, someone crosses a line. Maybe it's subtle, a sarcastic jab dressed up as humor, or maybe it's obvious, like being cut off mid-sentence or having your ideas dismissed outright. In that moment, you feel it, that sharp shift in energy, that sting in your chest, and the rush of emotion building. Your instinct might be to snap back, get defensive, or even stay silent and pretend it didn't happen. But here's the truth: silence can often be interpreted as permission, and overreactions, they just give the other person more power. There's a better way, a calmer, more confident way, one that puts you back in control without ever raising your voice. It starts by recognizing something most people miss. Disrespect isn't always about what's said, it's about what you allow after it's said. You teach people how to treat you not with long speeches, but with short, clear boundaries, and that's where the first phrase comes in. I don't appreciate that. And now, let's talk about why those 5 words matter. First, it's direct, not aggressive, not passive, but direct. You're not attacking, you're not accusing, you're simply stating a truth. You're acknowledging that something crossed a line, your line. And by doing that, you're letting the other person know that their words or tone didn't slide under your radar. You heard it, you felt it, and you're addressing it. Here's the beauty: this phrase doesn't invite a debate. It doesn't give them much room to twist your words or put you on the defensive. It puts the ball in their court, clearly and calmly, and lets them decide what to do next. It's not about proving them wrong, it's about standing in your own self-respect. You're showing them that there's a standard here. One that's non-negotiable, but the way you say it, that matters just as much as the words themselves. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone makes a dismissive comment about your contribution. You pause, you look them in the eye, steady, calm, and say, "I don't appreciate that." That's it. No sarcasm, no anger, just presence. That moment, that tone is powerful, because it tells everyone in the room that you saw the line being crossed and you're not afraid to speak up. But you'll do it with class, with grace, with restraint. See, when you respond with composure, you shift the energy in the room. You don't fuel the fire, you stop it. You stop it by refusing to play the game. Because disrespect often comes from people testing boundaries. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's unconscious, but either way, how you respond determines whether they try it again. And here's something else to think about: most people don't expect to be called out in that way, especially not with calm confidence. They're used to one of two reactions: silence or a loud reaction they can point to as emotional. So when you calmly say, "I don't appreciate that," you interrupt their pattern, you introduce accountability, and you do it without giving away your power. That's where real influence starts, not in having the last word, not in putting someone in their place, but in letting your boundaries speak louder than your emotions. Now maybe you're wondering, what if they don't take it seriously? What if they laugh it off or keep going? That's okay. The point isn't to change them immediately. The point is to protect you, to let yourself hear yourself speak up, to feel that you've honored your worth. You're not trying to control their behavior, you're controlling yours. You're stepping into a place where your voice reinforces your value. Because here's the truth: if you don't speak up for yourself, you train people to think they can treat you any way they want. And once that pattern is set, it becomes much harder to break. But the moment you say, "I don't appreciate that," with steadiness and presence, you begin teaching people how to interact with you. You teach them that respect isn't optional, it's required. You teach them that no matter who they are, a boss, a peer, a friend, even family, you expect a certain standard. Not because you're trying to dominate the conversation, but because you know your worth, and the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. It starts to show up in all areas of your life, in how you carry yourself, how you respond to tension, how you navigate difficult conversations. You stop avoiding confrontation because you know how to handle it. You stop shrinking yourself because you know your space matters. And when people see that, they feel it, they adjust, and those who don't, they fall away, and that's a good thing. So the next time someone crosses a line, and you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, take a breath. And instead of staying silent, try saying it. I don't appreciate that. Let your voice remind them and yourself where the line is. Sometimes when disrespect shows up, it's not loud and obvious, it's quiet, subtle. It sneaks into a conversation through condescension, mockery, or tone. And before you even have time to process it, it's already made you feel small, dismissed, or put down. Now in that moment, the natural human response is either to retreat, say nothing, brush it off, or to lash out. To raise your voice, go toe-to-toe, and set the record straight. But here's the thing, neither of those choices usually leads to a better outcome. One gives the other person permission to keep going, the other gives them the power to say, see, you're being emotional. What if there was another option? What if you could respond with strength, not by escalating, but by anchoring? Holding your ground, without feeding the disrespect. That's where the second phrase comes in, let's keep this respectful. And now I know it might sound simple, but simple doesn't mean weak. This phrase is subtle, but strategic. It's a quiet command, not a request. You're not asking someone to behave, you're reminding them there's a standard here. And that standard is respect. Let me tell you why this matters. When people are disrespectful, especially in heated moments, they expect one of two things. A fight or a freeze, but when you calmly say, let's keep this respectful, you don't do either. You redirect, you shift the energy without letting them drag you down into it. You don't meet their disrespect with disrespect. You elevate the conversation without lowering your boundaries. You're sending a message, I'm not here to argue, I'm here to communicate, but I'm not doing it in a disrespectful environment. And that forces a moment of reflection, even if they don't like it. Even if they try to shrug it off, they heard you. You took away their control over the tone of the conversation. Let me give you an example. You're in a disagreement. Someone starts to raise their voice, maybe talks over you or throws in a sarcastic dig. That's your moment. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to match their tone. Just stay still for a beat, then say, let's keep this respectful. Then pause. Silence right after a strong boundary is powerful. It gives space for their behavior to echo. It makes them sit with what they just said, instead of you carrying it. See, when you respond with emotional intelligence, you don't just protect your peace, you influence theirs. You guide the tone of the conversation, and that's what real power looks like. It's not how loud you speak. It's how clearly you define the rules of engagement. This phrase works because it invites a choice. It doesn't shut the other person down. It doesn't insult them. It says, if you want to keep talking, that's fine, but respect is non-negotiable. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to check someone. You're inviting maturity into the room. What's also powerful is how this phrase applies across all kinds of relationships, professional, personal, even in family dynamics. Because respect isn't something you earn only through performance, it's something you maintain through presence, through how you carry yourself. When you calmly say, let's keep this respectful, you're not reacting to emotion, you're holding a mirror up to it. And here's the deeper truth. A lot of people don't realize when they've slipped into a disrespectful tone. They're used to environments where sarcasm is normal, where shouting is how you show passion, or where interrupting is just conversation. So when you say this phrase, it's not just correcting them, it's retraining the room, it's reminding everyone in that space. We can disagree, we can be passionate, but we're not doing it by tearing each other down. There's a kind of strength in restraint. The kind that says, I could go there, but I choose not to, and that choice, that's your edge. Because most people are reactive. They let disrespect dictate their energy, but when you lead with calm authority, you don't just stop the disrespect, you change the tone entirely. It's not about being passive, it's not about being the bigger person so the other person gets away with it. It's about reclaiming your space mentally and emotionally and saying, this is how I expect to be treated. Whether they change or not, whether they apologize or not, you've set a tone, and the next time they approach you, they'll remember it. So don't underestimate the weight of that phrase. It may be just 4 words, but when delivered with presence, it carries more authority than shouting ever could. You're not reacting, you're responding. You're not fueling the fire, you're taking the air out of the room. So the next time someone gets sharp with you, or crosses a line in tone or language, take a breath. Don't mirror it, don't shrink from it, just say it. Let's keep this respectful, and let the silence afterwards speak louder than anything else in the room. Words are powerful, but tone, timing, and delivery are what give them their true weight. You can say the right phrase, but if your voice is shaky, your energy is uncertain, or your timing is off, the impact gets lost. Disrespect isn't just challenged by what you say, it's challenged by how you say it, and this is where most people miss the mark, not because they don't have the right words, but because they rush, they stumble, or they let their emotions speak first. Let's say someone cuts you off mid-sentence in a meeting, you feel it, your heart speeds up, your brain races. You're irritated, maybe even hurt, and the temptation is to jump in, interrupt them back, or blurt out something just to take back control. But here's the thing, when you react from that place, you're not in control, your emotions are, and disrespect feeds on that kind of reaction. Now imagine the same situation, but this time you pause, you don't interrupt. You don't raise your voice, you wait. Just 2-3 seconds of silence, that pause, that's power, because it breaks the rhythm of the disrespect. It creates a gap between what happened and how you respond. And in that gap, you show everyone in the room one thing, you're not rattled. Disrespect often comes fast. It's sharp, sudden, designed to provoke. So the best way to counter it isn't to match its speed, it's to slow it down. That's what strategic pauses do. They buy you clarity, they give your words gravity. When you speak after a pause, people lean in. Because now they're not just hearing your words, they're feeling your presence. And let's talk about tone. Your tone tells the truth about your confidence. You can say all the right things, but if your tone is rushed, shaky, or overly defensive, people pick up on that. On the other hand, when your tone is steady, calm, measured, and low, it becomes an anchor. Even if someone else is emotional or disrespectful, your tone sets the standard. It says, I'm not here to argue, I'm not here to entertain chaos, I'm here to be heard. That tone creates instant credibility. There's a phrase I use often in these situations, we're not going there. It's simple, just 4 words. But how you deliver it, that makes all the difference. Say it with a calm, grounded tone and a slight pause before and after, and it lands. Try saying it flippantly or with sarcasm, and it invites more conflict. The delivery defines the boundary. This is where your nonverbal communication starts to carry as much weight as your words. Your body language, your facial expression, your pacing, they all speak before you do. If you're jittery, if you can't make eye contact, if you're shifting in your seat or pacing back and forth, your message weakens. But if you hold still, breathe slowly, and speak with deliberate control, it shifts everything, the energy changes. Even the person being disrespectful can feel it, because now you're not just defending yourself, you're owning the room. Sometimes people think power is in volume, that if you raise your voice, you'll be taken seriously, but volume isn't power, certainty is. And certainty doesn't need to shout, certainty can whisper and still command the room. That's the kind of presence you want to bring when someone crosses a line. You want to be so grounded in your self-respect that you don't need to react to theirs, you respond, and you do it with intention. Here's something I've learned, when you speak with calm authority, people remember it, even if they don't change immediately, they'll think twice next time. Because your energy taught them something, they can't push you around, they can't bait you, they can't knock you off center. That's what earns respect, not retaliation, restraint. The challenge is, in the heat of the moment, pausing feels unnatural, silence feels uncomfortable. We're so used to filling every gap, defending every slight, but discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your advantage. When you're willing to sit in a pause, when you're okay with silence, you gain control over the emotional rhythm of the conversation. So practice that, practice pausing, practice letting your words breathe. The next time you feel that rush of defensiveness, don't speak right away. Pause, breathe, ground yourself, then say what needs to be said, clearly, calmly, with a tone that tells the room, "This is where I stand," because the goal isn't just to stop disrespect in the moment, it's to train the room over time. To show people that you're someone who responds with presence, not panic, that your words have weight not because they're loud, but because they're aligned with your confidence. You don't have to overpower anyone, you don't have to outtalk them, you just have to own your space through your tone, your timing, and your quiet, unshakable certainty. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a disrespectful dynamic, don't rush, don't react, just pause. And let your presence say what words never could. Disrespect doesn't always test your intelligence, it tests your sense of worth. And if you're not grounded in it, if you don't know who you are and what you deserve, then no phrase, no boundary, no perfect comeback will ever be enough. Because the real shift doesn't happen in what you say to others, it happens in what you believe about yourself. The moment you internalize that you are worthy of being spoken to with respect, everything changes: your tone, your posture, your reactions, your silence. Your very energy begins to communicate what your mouth doesn't have to say. You ever walk into a room and without even speaking, you feel someone's presence? There's a weight to how they carry themselves. They're not arrogant, they're not loud, but something about them says, "I know who I am. I don't chase approval, I don't beg for permission." That's what I'm talking about, that quiet confidence. That's what teaches people how to treat you. Before you even speak a word, we can talk about phrases all day. "I don't appreciate that. Let's keep this respectful." We're not going there, but if those words come from a place of fear, insecurity, or unhealed frustration, they fall flat. On the flip side, if you speak from a grounded place, rooted in your value, those same simple phrases carry weight. They don't just stop the disrespect, they redirect the energy in the room. Confidence doesn't mean you think you're better than anyone. It means you're not dependent on anyone to validate you, and that kind of mindset shifts everything, because when you're secure in yourself, you're not easily provoked. You don't get pulled into ego battles or drama traps. You don't take every comment personally. You recognize what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And here's the thing, most disrespect isn't even about you. It's about the other person's lack of awareness, control, or emotional maturity. But when you don't know your worth, it's easy to absorb their behavior and make it about you. You question yourself, you replay the moment in your head, you wonder if you should have said more, said less, said nothing. That cycle, that's what erodes your peace. But when your worth is intact, you don't spiral, you respond. You don't chase their approval or try to prove anything, you let them sit with their own behavior while you remain steady. And here's the best part, people notice. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. They feel that when they are around you, they have to rise to a different standard, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. And that doesn't just apply to strangers or surface-level interactions, it applies to every relationship in your life. Your coworkers, your partner, your friends, even family. When you carry yourself with quiet authority, it becomes clear that respect is the baseline, not a reward, not a gift, not something to be negotiated. It's simply expected. There's something powerful about someone who knows how to walk away from disrespect without a scene. Not because they're avoiding conflict, but because they understand their peace is more valuable than proving a point. That kind of person makes others think twice before crossing a line. Not out of fear, but out of respect. And look, this kind of energy isn't built overnight, it comes from experience. From moments when you didn't speak up and regretted it, from times you tolerated what you shouldn't have. We've all been there. We've all had moments where we betrayed our own boundary just to keep the peace, but every one of those moments teaches you something. And at some point, you stop choosing comfort and you start choosing self-respect. You begin to understand that it's not your job to manage someone else's behavior, it's your job to manage your response to it. And the strongest response isn't always a comeback. Sometimes, the strongest response is silence, or distance, or simply the look on your face that says, "That doesn't land here." That's how your energy starts doing the talking. That's how you walk into a room and, without saying a word, people understand. This person doesn't entertain disrespect. You don't have to flex, you don't have to posture, you don't have to fight for space. You are the space, and that's the goal, not just to have the right words in the moment, but to become someone who rarely has to use them. Because your presence alone teaches people how to interact with you, and that kind of presence, it can't be faked. It's built slowly, intentionally, from the inside out, so if you want to stop disrespect in its tracks, start with your energy. Start with the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. Start with how you speak to yourself when the room is silent. Because the world will always try to test you, but when you're rooted in who you are, there's nothing left to prove. Let your energy speak before your words ever do.